All right, welcome back, fellow Pokemon trainers. I am Joe Picorni.
And I'm John Who. And we're here with top four,
All,
featuring
uh,
Corey Esmeier.
and Ken Huang?
Yes.
Ken Huang.
I should have done that one, huh?
Yeah,
Oh well.
probably.
Anyway, so these two players have bested their top 8 matchups. I hear Corey got a spurt of luck there, just like we saw Kyle get versus Nick Navarre. I don't know anything about how Ken did in his top 8, but both have pretty strong teams to contend with, as per the usual. So, I'll start with Ken's team. Ken's running a Tapu Koko, Mimikyu, Snorlax, Arcanine, Garchomp, and Celesteela.
And Corey is going to be running Tapu Koko, Kartana, Arcanine, Nihilego, Porygon 2, and Araquanid.
Alright, so we do know quite a bit about these players. We do know it's a Scarf Nihilego from the very first round of this tournament. We know that Garchomp is Ground EMZ on Ken's side. We know that Ken's running that Assault Vest Timid Tapu Koko. Really seems to like that Pokemon. We haven't seen much of Celesteela or Arcanine, or was it Mimikyu? I think it was Mimikyu, huh?
I believe it was Mimikyu.
Yeah, so no Mimikyu or Celesteela has been seen from Ken, but we have seen his Arcanine and his Snorlax both carrying the berries, of course.
And I'm not sure too much. I don't quite remember everything we learned about Corey's team, but I believe we saw that the Nihilego was in fact Choice Scarfed.
Yeah, so we saw the Scarf, Nihilego, and then I think we also saw Waterium Z Araquanid as well as the Trick Room option on Porygon 2. I think it also had Frustration. We saw that, I think.
Probably. I don't quite remember at this
Yeah,
point.
I remember
But
doing some big damage on some Tapu Lele somewhere, so if that wasn't the right game, then it was someone else's Porygon 2. But those are the Pokemon we have here. It looks like we're still getting... Okay, we are getting into it then. Yeah. Slight delay on that. So here we go into top 4. And the winner of this moves on to finals and their chance at snagging a sick competitor trophy.
absolutely.
Champion trophy. But I mean, it's okay because at this event there's a special surprise waiting for second place. We'll get there when we get there. So it's kind of hard to say what either player should really lead with. Ken is definitely safe to kind of lead Tapu Koko. That seems like that kind of Tapu Koko is kind of built to be a lead. But I mean, he doesn't have very many options for this Trick Room other than, using his own Trick Room options in Snorlax and Celesteela. But, Corey could just not deal with it because he knows Araquanid is faster than Snorlax and doesn't really mind facing against Celesteela or Mimikyu here.
Absolutely. Araquanid with that massive water bubble ability is able to do a good amount of damage to pretty much any Pokemon as long as it is able to use that Liquidation Waterium Z.
Yeah, and it is interesting to note that although Ken's Arcanine showed a Will-O-Wisp on stream before, it wasn't helpful back then because of Top Fini, but it's also not helpful now because of Water Bubble's prevention of burn. So the only thing he can really burn effectively would probably be Porygon 2 if it's carrying Frustration and Kartana, but I mean, at that point you should just hit it, right?
Absolutely. Because Kartana not going to be living any fire move too well because it is 4 times weak.
Alright, and with time ticking down, Ken's got to figure out what he's going to click into his team order and go from there. Or timeout, maybe. That definitely looks like a timeout to me.
Ooh, yeah.
Or maybe a miscommunication. Something like that. But now we're getting into the game, so
right.
We're going to see how these players match up against each other.
All right, and we are about to hop right into this game here.
Ken going to lead off strong with a Tapu Koko Garchomp lead, the one he threw out last time he was on stream. Very much a fan of this lead, it looks like.
And we're going to see Corey throw out his Nihilego and Tapu Koko.
Alright, Electric Surge. It looks like a speed tie, or maybe Ken is not running max speed on his Tapu Koko. That's definitely going to have to be something they look out for. Yeah, Nihilego looking pretty okay. We don't know what kind of hidden power it has, if any at all. So this could be a surprise from Ken. I don't know if they played in Swiss. I don't think they did. So I think these players are going at it with fresh minds. Nothing here. But Garchomp gonna protect here. Not gonna want to take a surprise hidden power ice.
And we see the Acid Spray just go right into that Garchomp here.
Yeah, so Dazzling Gleam, Acid Spray would have ended that Garchomp easily. So very interesting play from Corey's side of the field. Skydrop is going to come out and take that Tapu Koko though.
All right, that was a very good play on Ken's part because now he has a Garchomp that can freely Earthquake and probably pick up the KO onto that Nihilego.
Alright, and you know, Skydrop won't let Mr. T go, so he's probably going to go down to the center of the earth, if you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, he is probably going to take a Ground DMZ Earthquake here, or just maybe a regular Earthquake, depending on what Ken feels is appropriate.
Yeah, I would be a little hard to convince that normal Earthquake would be the play since you'd be hitting your own Tapu Koko, but maybe Ken is okay with that. I don't know. I do expect Nihilego to switch out though, since it's kind of not in a good position, locked into Acid Spray. Pretty bad move to be locked into.
Alright, so we see that Araquanid come in.
Alright, Skydrop is going to let go of that Tapu Koko, going to do very minor damage here. But the more important part is that Earthquake is going to come out, and Ken was totally okay and prepared to let go of his own Tapu Koko. So, I mean, Joe called it.
Yeah, let's call it me calling that, not me making a mistake. I'm fine with that. All right, but as we see both of those Tapu Kokos go down here.
And Araquanid had kind of eaten that up real nicely and putting itself in a nice position since now no Tapu Koko to threaten that Araquanid. He's ready to go to town on any Pokemon Ken throws in.
So in retrospect, from Ken's perspective, that might have been a pretty big mistake because now that Araquanid, without any Pokemon to really hit it, could start just sweeping through his team.
Yeah, and here comes Nihilego back for some more action. Maybe he's locking himself into something that's not Acid Spray as Ken sends out Arcana.
So Arcanine potentially might have the Wild Charge here to do some nice damage to that Araquanid, but we probably don't see that too much anymore at this stage of the meta.
Yeah, and remember we did see Will-O-Wisp, so maybe it's more of a bulky variant and not offensive at all. The bulkier variants do tend to run Will-O-Wisp, at least that's how it was back in 2015 when Will-O-Wisp Arcanine was around way more often. Of course, Tapu Fini and the fact that Arcanine has a very diverse move pool full of lots of different style options for Z moves, offensive items like Life Orb, means that Will-O-Wisp fell by the wayside mostly.
But let's see what these players lock into, as Ken actually just switches out his Arcanine.
And that's going to be Celesteela coming in to, take these attacks, but Hidden Power, is that Ice or Fire? Well, I would say Ice, because there wasn't a Kartana on the field, right?
Oh, and it actually is able to survive that, and it's just going to go for that Ground DMZ Earthquake.
So here's that Tectonic Rage. Who's he taking to the core of the Earth? It's probably that Nihilego.
I would have to imagine so, but I mean, if you're thinking about it, maybe he can just pick up the KO later, but no, he decides to just go right for that KO here.
Yeah, squishy jellyfish-like Pokemon definitely do not like that core of the Earth.
Alright, and that Araquanid is going for his own Z move here.
Yeah, so the Waterium Z coming out, it is -1, so it will be slightly weaker than normal, but Araquanid's ability, Water Bubble, super good, gonna double its attack stat regardless. Here's that Hydro Vortex, probably into that Celesteela now that it's replaced the Arcanine.
And there it is. Still gonna do a reasonable amount of damage here. Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot of damage here. The Celesteela is not feeling too healthy after that. Leftover is gonna give it a little bit of health back. And now, Ken blew his Z move, and we know Corey's Araquanid has that wide guard option from the first round of the tournament, and that means that Doggo here, very safe from Rock Slide, very safe from Earthquake, able to pick off this Celesteela, and even if it wanted to, pick off Garchomp with extreme speed.
Absolutely, and a piece of information that Corey probably could have gotten from that turn is that Celesteela still took a lot of damage even at -1, so he might be thinking it's either a more specially defensive trained one or maybe a little more offensive.
Yeah, definitely. And, Ken has a few switches available to him, notably switching back out into Arcana to get another -1 attack drop on both these Pokemon. But I think as far as his Garchomp is concerned, it really can't do that much anymore, and he needs to get it out as soon as possible.
Absolutely, especially with the potential for a extreme speed. But let's see, because we have 3 seconds left till they have to have their moves locked in.
Alright. Possibly a timeout there on the Ken side, or maybe a disconnect from the IR ports. And this should be going off. Alright, Garchomp is going to pull out. Ken decides that he needs to keep Garchomp around, possibly to deal with Arcanine after we get rid of it, but I'm not sure how Ken's going to have to use these tools to get rid of the Arcanine. Celesteela is going to go for the Protect.
Absolutely. So that Arcanine is not in a very good position right now, as that as Doggo does go for the Flare Blitz into the Arcanine.
Yeah, so Fire move the Arcanine slot kind of in a reverse order this time. But I mean, free damage is free damage, and I'm guessing that Corey did expect the other way around, that Celesteela would be the one switching and not Garchomp.
Absolutely. So right now, that Celesteela is still probably within a range of a Flare Blitz from Corey's Arcanine, but I think that the Araquanid is actually in a pretty good position at this point.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that Corey did not go for an extreme speed on that Garchomp slot, which probably would have been better in hindsight if he has it, but maybe he's not carrying it, and maybe this is more of a Snarl support set. That's definitely possible, looking at the HP numbers. Since we are able to see them on Corey's side of the field, it does look like a more bulky set.
Alright, as we see Ken's Arcanine just go for that Protect.
And Flare Blitz into Celesteela should definitely take it out. Arcanine is only at -1, and Celesteela, a lot of defensive stats, but at half health, it's really not going to be able to take that super effective damage.
And we just see the Araquanid go for a Liquidation.
Okay, Electricity's gone. That probably didn't matter unless Ken was hiding the Pocket Wild Charge. He didn't break it out, so it's kind of safe to assume he doesn't have that move. Garchomp does come back in. Still has to be wary of a potential extreme speed. And Corey does have that wide guard option to stop Rock Slide, stop Earthquake. Anything Garchomp can throw out, that's not going to be happening with our friend Araquanid on the field.
Absolutely. Right now, if I'm in Corey's slot, I'm very happy with what my Araquanid can do at this point. As long as he is able to just take out that Garchomp, I really think the Araquanid will just clean up the game there.
Yeah, and we do need to note that Ken's Arcanine isn't at -1, but with Water Bubble's Fire-type damage reduction as well, it's really not going to be doing a whole lot.
That Extreme Speed does pretty good damage though, but the Rock Slide is then blocked by that Wide Guard.
Yeah, so here's a Flare Blitz from Arcanine into the Garchomp, it looks like, and that's going to be enough to knock it out.
Alright, just enough damage.
A little bit of rough skin damage never hurt anyone. We say, but a lot of Pokemon have fallen to that recoil damage before.
All those Focus Sash Pokemon would care to disagree.
Alright, but now we have this 2v1 situation where, Ken's got to hope for some sort of crit here. Definitely in trouble because Araquanid is definitely able to take one of those extreme speeds, probably able to take another Flare Blitz and hit back with a very hard Liquidation, even if it's -1.
Absolutely. So if somehow Ken is able to get rid of that Araquanid, that would be in a halfway decent position, but as he just goes for the Helping Hand, presumably Liquidation, I think this game is wrapped up.
Extreme Speed coming out once more, not going to deal enough damage, and Liquidation with Helping Hand boosting it. Looking like a KO, yep.
And that is a KO, so Corey wins this first game.
Yeah, Corey winning the game, despite the turn 1 Acid Spray to Protect deal. Corey ended up with the better end of that deal after Ken decided my Coco is not important for this matchup.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad misplay on Ken's part, but maybe a play that he had in mind just didn't work out. But who knows? He has a second game to adjust here.
Right, and so Ken probably has the tools. He maybe needs to preserve his Tapu Koko a little better, or maybe run something like Snorlax to set up and take advantage of the fact that Araquanid is also a little slow to set up, or he gets hit really hard with Intimidate. But at the same time, if you do that, then maybe Corey just brings the Kartana and adjusts when you don't bring that Arcanine.
Absolutely. All right, so we get here into the second game. So I really think that If I'm Corey, I'm pretty happy with how I played that game. I got a lot of good information, and I know a good amount about Ken's team now.
Yeah, so Nihiligo not being able to one-hit KO Garchomp with Hidden Power Ice is pretty important knowledge for both of these players going forward. But you know, that amount of damage is so significant, and Garchomp is left so weak afterwards that I feel like it doesn't really affect Corey's gameplay that much, and it definitely affects Ken, since he can no longer use Garchomp as a way to get in a free switch after Garchomp goes down to an HP Ice.
Absolutely. Pardon me. That Garchomp is usually such a nice way to just wall that Nihilego, but with the HP Ice doing that much damage, pretty much any amount of chip puts it into that KO range.
And I do think that Ken also needs to conserve his Groundium Z a little better. Maybe after seeing Wide Guard in Game 1, he'll work towards doing that, because after that, Garchomp looks like it has no moves to deal damage after the fact. We've seen Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Protect. We don't know what fourth move he's carrying, but supposing it's something like Poison Jab or Fire Fang, that's really not doing a whole lot to a Rockwanid, and really isn't helping in that situation.
Absolutely. But we're going to hop into the second game here, see how these players have adjusted, and let's hop into it.
Alright, so Game 2, possibly a set-deciding match. Corey up 1-0 against Ken.
Alright, as Corey leads with the Arcanine and that Tapu Koko.
Yeah, and we see Ken leading with Tapu Koko and Garchomp again. So really a big fan of this lead, even if it wasn't working out last time. He thinks he can maybe improve upon it with the new game plan he may have devised.
Alright, so this time I think if he handles his earthquaking a little bit more safely, I think it could actually play out in his favor this time.
Remember, earthquake responsibly.
Yes, remember kids. Alright. So right now I really think that if we see that Arcanine switch out into maybe something that can handle this a little, this situation a little better, I would really prefer to see that than that Arcanine just sitting there across a Garchomp.
Yeah, a good switch right now would be Arcanine to Porygon 2. Porygon 2 applying a lot of pressure on Garchomp and not taking that much damage from Tapu Koko, especially the Assault Vest variant, makes Porygon 2 a pretty good choice here. But now we're going to see a helping hand from Arcanine here, maybe going for that one-hit knockout. But, you know, Garchomp just going to go for that Protect again. Doesn't want to take any damage from Dazzling Gleam. But it is going to do a better number than last time on this Tapu Koko.
Alright, so that does a good amount. Looks like it would just be a 3-hit KO, as that Tapu Koko actually goes for the Volt Switch into the Arcanine.
Yeah, so a good amount of damage there. Going to get that nice Switch initiative. Bring in something a little more fit for the job. Maybe something like Celesteela to dodge his own Earthquakes this time. But now it's going to be Snorlax.
Alright, so that Snorlax comes in. So, right now I think that Snorlax is in a pretty okay position with two ground weak mons. He can high horsepower, or if he is feeling risky, he could switch out into a Celesteela and then Earthquake pretty freely.
Yeah, so this could be a bait and switch kind of deal. But I mean, if that is the case, then that means Ken left his Arcanine on the bench, which means all of Corey's physical attackers, like his own Arcanine, they're kind of going unchecked right now. But we'll see what happens here as the players lock in their selections here.
Alright, with just a few seconds left, I think we're going to have to see some fancy playing here as we see Ken withdraw his Groudon. Or Groudon, jeez. Garchomp.
Quite a step up, but
yeah.
I mean, maybe it turned into a fire and a ground type here. He's going to bring in his own Arcanine, so confirming he doesn't have his Celesteela to, you know, have that Earthquake synergy with. We see Tapu Koko go for the Protect here, pretty safe, as Snorlax just goes for the return into Tapu Koko as Arcanine roars that Snorlax right out, stopping any setup if Ken decided to go for it, bringing Garchomp back in. So Garchomp wanted out, but he's back.
Actually, I think that works out pretty well in Ken's favor because now he has a full power Garchomp back. Because now he can go for those full power Groundium Z Earthquakes.
Right, and then Arcanine here being here also indicates that well, if Ken decides to just protect Garchomp again, then, you know, Tapu Koko could be privy to a Flare Blitz right here. So these players are just going to have to figure out how they want to do this. But no ground resists on Ken's side of the field means that he has to be really careful if he decides to blow his Z move anytime soon.
Alright, as you see the helping hand from the doggo as the Garchomp protects.
Yeah, so Corey gonna go for that Dazzling Gleam. Really needs to get rid of Garchomp here. And it's gonna do some good damage to Arcanine, but you know, fire resisting is a pretty good resist there. As Arcanine goes to that Flare Blitz.
Alright, and that Flare Blitz does just out of range for that Flare Blitz KO.
But we do have extreme speed possibility here, and that's pretty much what he wants if he has it. Of course, if he doesn't carry it, some don't, then he might be out of luck, but we'll have to wait and see. Arcanine did take quite a bit of damage from that Dazzling Gleam plus recoil damage, about as much as Corey has on his right now. Garchomp looking ready to strike though.
Yeah, that Garchomp right now is going to be able to go for a very powerful ground DMZ if you would like, because right now nothing on Corey's team would really like to switch into that.
Yeah, probably the best bet would be switching to Porygon 2 if you have it. Otherwise, you might have something like a Rockwanid or Kartana, I guess.
Yeah.
Kartana's not taking it too hot, but there is the extreme speed, so that's going to close out Tapu Koko. Nice effort on Corey's part, but it's just not enough there.
Yeah, unfortunately for that Arcanine, he just wasted his turn that time. But that Garchomp goes for the Swords Dance, get the +2.
Yeah, so Swords Dance making Garchomp a big threat. No Intimidate here, so that is a pure +2. But we do see the Porygon 2 coming in here.
Alright, and honestly, that Porygon 2 is not looking too nice against that Garchomp right now, because a +2 ground DMZ will be able to pick up the KO.
At the same time, though, that means that if he wants to get this Porygon 2 out of the way right now, he will lose the ability to get around Wide Guard. Since now we know the Garchomp's whole set, and he has only spread moves for attacking moves.
Absolutely, but I think since he does have that Tapu Koko in the back still, I think that is less of an issue than it was last time.
That's also true. So, right now, Corey's going to have to decide, can my Porygon 2 survive this Tectonic Rage? Or am I okay with losing my Porygon 2 right now?
Alright, well, it looks like that Tectonic Rage is going to be coming out from the Garchomp.
And Tectonic Rage it is. So here comes that Tectonic Rage. Who is it going to be on?
Alright, and it is going into that Porygon 2.
Send that duck to the core of the earth.
And
he's gone.
It does do enough damage.
Alright, so, you know, Ken didn't look like he was starting off strong, but a couple of well-placed protects on Garchomp's end made it so that he could have he drug it back. He dragged it.
Dragged?
Dragged, that's the word. Dragged it back here. And, you know, just use let's hit that fire type. It's okay.
Alright, so I think Corey might have thought that he had the chance to live that ground DMZ Earthquake there, because that didn't seem like a great play at our end, but who knows, he may have thought he had a chance to live that based on how he trained his Mons.
And a Rockwanid is going to come in and replace the fallen Porygon 2, but this is good in some senses because Garchomp, now useless, +2 attack, he's going to have to get rid of it here in order to get more board positioning. And Arcanine here still has a berry, even though he is -1, can do a lot of damage, and you know, damage is good damage.
Absolutely, especially when you're just facing down the last 2 Mons, and when you still have all 4 of yours, you're in a pretty safe position to where you don't really have to make anything risky plays. You can just make solid, safe, consistent plays every turn, and you can usually pull out a win.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Corey decides to do here. Wide Guard is really obvious, and I'm not sure whether he wants to be able to not use it here. We do see the extreme speed, no Wide Guard, it looks like, so...
Ooh, just in that barrier range.
Yeah, so it looks like Corey kind of was trying to mind game Ken into not clicking a spread move, but I don't think he did fall for that. I think he just went for the spread move anyway.
Yeah, unless he No, he's revealed all 4 of his moves, so he's definitely going for a spread move or a Swords Dance here. I suppose it's possible, but
Yeah, so here's that Rock Slide, and it's going to connect on both Pokemon at +2. That's going to be big damage and a knockout on the dog.
all right, and I think that game is pretty much
That
all but
is
sealed.
gonna be wrapped up, especially with the flinch.
To add insult to injury, making this probably a 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0 victory from Ken is pretty strong. I do think Corey was a little too aggressive onto the Garchomp slot, and Ken took full advantage by protecting every possible opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to have to go to a game 3 here.
And you know, game 3, that's where the stakes are high, limits are off.
Absolutely. Now there's no reason to hold any information that you might have been holding. So now you have to play to your absolute top abilities for fighting for your tournament life.
Yeah, I do think that Corey adjusted well by bringing Porygon 2, but it just wasn't on the field when he needed it to be there.
Absolutely.
And then when it was on the field, it didn't need to be there.
Yeah, and it just got deleted off the field there pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, but we're going to head into game 3. So right now, if I am Ken, I think that went pretty well for me. I should be able to do the same thing again if I'm if I'm consistently being able to call whether or not the wide guard is important here.
Yeah, the wide guard definitely is a helpful tool when, you know, the Z move is gone, but it does force you into clicking wide guard. Otherwise, scenarios like that last turn of game 2 happens where I click the spread move anyway, and you know, you have to click wide guard, otherwise I'm going to get some KOs. So it really kind of limits both players' play.
Absolutely. So it really comes down to mind games there at the end of who is going to click the spread move, or is he going to click the wide guard?
All right, so saw a little bit of a summary screen there, Tapu Koko summary screen. Peep those stats. No, don't actually do that. I'm sure he probably doesn't want that to happen. Anyway,
yeah, it's too late now.
Anyway, so Ken has been leading Garchomp and Tapu Koko every time. We're pretty sure he's just going to lead it again.
Yeah. That sounds like the best play from him, but let's see what he does in this final game.
Alright, game 3, top 4. These players are both fighting to become the mid-season showdown champion of Indiana Tech.
Absolutely. Alright, so let's hop into that last game here.
One of them has a shot to leave with a nice trophy, and the other one has a shot of
something.
Leaving with free entry.
Yeah.
We see Arcanine and Tapu Koko from Corey.
And we see a Tapu Koko and Garchomp from Ken.
Yep, so here's the same lead from game 2, but will Ken be able to mind game his way out of this one, or stick with his guns and go for that protect again?
It's always a interesting condition that you set your opponent to, because if you click the same thing both games consistently, is it a, am I going to do the same thing? Is he going to think I'm going to do the same thing? It's like one of those, I'm sure there's a term for it, but it's like
50-50s?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 50-50, but...
Well, another option open to Corey is to protect and bulldoze on the off chance that Ken doesn't protect his Garchomp or tries to go for the sneaky little Swords Dance. But a bulldoze, a well-placed bulldoze, could help Corey out quite a bit.
Alright, but we see that Garchomp actually switch out again.
Alright, Arcanine's going to come in for Garchomp, so making this a mirror match to be beholden, and we're going to see what Corey decides to do. There's the protect from Tapu Koko.
Alright, and we do see the Volt switch into the Arcanine.
Alright, doing about similar damage as last time. Gonna get that free switch initiative into some Pokemon of Ken's choice. I do expect it to be either the Garchomp or another Pokemon. Looks like the Snorlax in this case.
Alright, so that Snorlax comes in as he does go for that bulldoze, making that Snorlax even slower, but that doesn't matter. Probably the bigger target there was that Arcanine.
Yeah, Arcanine getting that speed drop and getting a little bit of chip means that a Helping Hand Thunderbolt probably ends that Arcanine's shelf life a little earlier than it would like. Snorlax here pretty free to go for a setup move, but you know, seeing Roar in game 2 means that it's maybe a little too soon for that. Maybe you need to get Arcanine off the field before I start setting up.
Absolutely. The Roar is always such a scary option because without that berry and when you lose it just trying to set up, it always is very rough to come back from that with your Snorlax.
And, you know, Tapu Koko didn't really make the greatest use of that turn there, but protect yourself from Bulldoze is always good. I mean, you saw from game 1 that Earthquaking yourself maybe isn't the best play.
Absolutely. And Bulldoze, it's a little weaker, but it does also slow you down.
Alright, and let's see what happens in this turn.
Alright, as we see that Arcanine switch out for Ken.
Into Tapu Koko, so here looking to suck up some damage for Arcanine that maybe doesn't want to happen, as a Volt Switch comes out into Snorlax, so gonna put it right outside that barrier.
Ooh,
range.
that is probably on the like 1 HP above it.
Yeah, that is a tasty min-max, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not really a min-max until you do the second hit, but you know.
Yeah. It certainly worked out well for him. But we see that Porygon 2 actually come in here.
Yeah, and what a great time for Porygon 2 to come in, even though it's going to get that attack raise. Flare Blitz going to go into the Snorlax as well, so gonna force him to proc the berry.
Yeah, not quite enough, but unfortunately that berry does proc after such a beautiful knocking it down to just above 50%.
Return does come out and hits that Porygon 2 for a little bit of damage. Pretty ticklish, but Porygon 2 in a great position now to set up that Trick Room, maybe go for some frustrations if it has a physical move to take advantage of that attack boost. And Arcanine probably looking to switch out here or maybe get off a Protect.
Absolutely. So right now that Snorlax is at -1 speed, but I don't think that's going to matter too much because unfortunately that Araquanid is already too fast for Trick Room. But I think a Frustration would still do a nice damage, a nice bit of damage to that Tapu Koko if he does actually carry it.
Alright, and time's kicking down here, and we do figure that Porygon 2 is going to do a little more than he did last game. Volt Switch, again, doing a little more damage to the dog, putting it right outside that barrier range.
Wow, what a rejection type of game. Like, you don't get your berry, I don't get mine, but eventually, hopefully, he'll get it for his sake.
Yeah, if he chose to Flare Blitz here, he will probably knock himself into that range where the berry would proc. So here is that Flare Blitz. Where is it going?
Alright, and it looks like it does go into that Arcanine, just doing a little bit of damage.
And it's not going to be enough to put him into berry range, unfortunately. So Frustration coming out from Porygon 2, going to do more damage here as Snorlax just recycles for the berry.
Absolutely. So that is a very rough turn for Corey because right now that Arcanine is just out. He did pretty good damage against that Arcanine, but still, he now has quite a bit to come back from here.
Yeah, on the bright side, the Snorlax did not go for an offensive move like Return to knock out the Arcanine, taking advantage of that berry range miss. So, you know, he does get to keep his Arcanine here. He might want to save it for Intimidate later. Porygon 2 is still looking pretty fantastic, especially with Frustration as the main offensive move here.
Absolutely. So, unfortunately, though, it's not going to be able to do too much to that Snorlax, and Snorlax is always such a threat to a Trick Room-oriented team.
And here's that Will-O-Wisp coming into play finally after not getting any love during Swiss. That burn is going to prevent Porygon 2 from knocking out our Arcanine. That berry is getting procced, and Corey's in a world of hurt now.
Yeah, so now his physical attacking Porygon 2, or at least mixed attacking Porygon 2, is now in a bad spot. And unfortunately, he does get KO'd from that Frustration without getting the chance to use its berry.
Yeah, so with a burn on Porygon 2, it's pretty much relegated to fishing for freezes, spamming recover, maybe undoing Trick Room, but I mean, you wouldn't ever do it unless you got rid of that Snorlax there.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, this Araquanid can probably do a good amount of damage and probably pick up the KO with the Waterium Z onto that Snorlax.
Yes, that's also a good point. So what Corey can do right now is try to set up the Trick Room and go for the Z Waterium into Snorlax, get that nice KO, and be primed to sweep through Ken's team under Trick Room.
Absolutely. Because right now, if that Snorlax is the only thing that's really stopping him from just sweeping the Trick Room. Because that Garchomp comes in, It might live. It might live in ice beam if he is carrying it, but it won't appreciate it, and will go down to at least another one.
Right.
But let's see what these players go for this turn.
Snorlax is going to protect here, so hopefully Corey held off on that trigger button. And here's that Flare Blitz gonna go into Porygon 2, getting a little more damage, making sure it becomes manageable in the end game as a recover happens.
That was a very good play on Corey's end, because I believe after the burn chant, or after the 6% for the burn, I think he would have been in a range from another Flare Blitz.
Here comes that Waterium Z. He did not want to save it, but smartly enough, he did not set up Trick Room, so that means even though this is not going to take out that Snorlax, it does mean that Araquanid will be outpacing it the next turn. And Arcanine is still going to be in here, and it's really not doing too much.
Absolutely. If I'm Corey, I'd be happy that my Porygon 2 is now in a better position, but I think that Z move was definitely wasted right there.
Yeah, the Z move definitely could have helped him take Snorlax out of the game, but you know, maybe a little too trigger happy. Maybe he wanted to make sure Snorlax didn't get to stay around or didn't get to use an attack.
Absolutely, and one thing to consider is that I don't think throughout these games, I don't think Ken ever had to reveal if his Snorlax did have Protect.
Right.
So he probably maybe thought, oh, it's safe, he doesn't have Protect.
Yeah, and then it turns out he does, and
yeah.
he also has Recycle. So he's missing out on something. Maybe high horsepower, or maybe just a boosting move in general. Either way, we've got Protect from Araquanid here. Questionable play, I think. I'm not really sure.
Oh, as we see the extreme speed into his
self-extreme speed
Snorlax.
for Barry. As a strat you don't see too often, but it definitely works. So this Protect looks pretty wasted as Ice Beam goes into Snorlax, gets the critical hit, but protect yourself from the return. That is pretty good. So waste the Berry. Recycle did not go off. Snorlax is now within a 2-hit KO range of Liquidation. Has to start using Recycle in order to keep itself up.
Absolutely. So right now, I think if Corey is able to just eliminate that Snorlax, he's still in a great position, but he has to be able to do it. That Snorlax is too bulky right now, and I think he's going to have to get a little lucky to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, either a freeze from Ice Beam or possibly defense drops from Liquidation could definitely help out our friend in getting that Snorlax off the field, whether it's permanently or just enough so that he can get under Trick Room and start sweeping through the rest of Ken's team.
Absolutely. But as we see the extreme speed go out into the Araquanid this time.
Ice Beam coming out from Porygon 2 once again, trying to fist for that freeze. Doesn't get it, but Liquidation coming out here onto Snorlax as well.
And it does just not enough, but the Snorlax does actually just go for the return. Not quite picking up the knockout.
Yeah, this puts Corey in a very tough position because it does have enough HP to live on the specific Extreme Speed roll that he got this turn, but is it enough to take another possible roll from Extreme Speed?
Absolutely, and then if it does live it, what is he going to be able to do the turn afterwards? Because then he's stuck with Tapu Koko and then his own Porygon 2, and that's not super great for his current position.
Yeah, it also looks like if he wants to be on the hopeful side, he has to Liquidation the Arcanine, and then hopefully Ice Beam can take out Snorlax from this range. But since we all know how bulky Snorlax is, even at this range, it could possibly survive that Ice Beam.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be close, but we shall see as the timer is ticking down. Oh, it looks like he did time out there.
We do see the Protect from Arcanine. We do see a Protect from Araquanid, so a good play on Corey's part. Ice Beam going into that Snorlax. Is it enough?
It's just not enough with 1 HP. Surviving, able to get off that Recycle. I don't know if you guys can at home can hear that, but there is audible groans from the audience. But I think that that's going to be a very tough play to come back from there.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, Corey really had to hope that Ice Beam KO'd, but even if it did, it put him in a situation where he would have to get either a double Protect with his Araquanid or switch back out into Tapu Koko sack it, and have a Trick Room up for the rest of the game. So
Absolutely.
I really think that it was kind of hard for him to come back in the first place, but that really just kind of nailed the coffin down.
Yeah, that definitely sealed the deal there. Because now this Snorlax is basically just not threatened for the rest of this game.
Another extreme speed from our Arcanine coming out onto a Rockwanid. It's not enough to KO.
Ooh, just
so
enough.
A Rockwanid still hanging in there. Liquidation gonna KO our Canine, finally overstaying its welcome. And, you know, it may not be over yet because Porygon 2, our friend, our trusted friend, can maybe, just maybe pull out with a little bit of luck.
Yeah, I mean, if it is able to get off an Ice Beam, a potential Ice Beam into that Garchomp, Garchomp should be within range.
All right, Tapu Koko is hitting the field once again, getting off that Electric Surge, putting up a good amount of damage boosting, especially to deal with that Porygon 2. Snorlax being really healthy, and, you know, Tapu Koko, he's probably just going to take out that Rockwanid here.
Absolutely. So right now, Ken really does have that speed sandwich going where his Tapu Koko is so fast and his Snorlax is so slow that truly Corey can't really use Trick Room to get himself into a better position because then Snorlax is slower, and if he doesn't, then Tapu Koko is slower, or faster, pardon me.
Right. And so Corey's going to have to evaluate whether he needs to keep a Rockwanid around or, you know, value that Tapu Koko a little bit more. As Thunderbolt does indeed go and KO the Rockwanid. After a long-fought battle of hanging on and dealing out some Z-move liquidation, he finally got around and got a good rest.
Absolutely. So it's looking like Corey's just going to have to go with that Ice Beam freeze as he does not get it, and that Snorlax is able to get off a recycle here.
Another berry, another meal, and Snorlax is about to devour Corey's team.
That certainly seems like it, because right now with that Tapu Koko not going to be able to do enough damage to that Snorlax. Even if that Snorlax isn't carrying high horsepower, it does have enough damage potential to be able to just outlast Corey's team.
All right, Tapu Koko hitting the field for Corey, and, you know, Ken's Tapu Koko is at full health. It is the Assault Vest version. Corey's going to have to climb maybe 2 mountains here in front of him.
But let's see, because I think it's down to Corey's last 2 mons, and Ken's down, but Ken still has 3. But if he is able to get that Garchomp in and able to Ice Beam, it would bring it a little bit closer. But I don't know if that's going to be able to, or if that's going to be a realistic thing that Corey's actually going to be able to do here.
Snorlax protecting itself this turn, doesn't want to take any damage. He knows it's the big target, and Thunderbolt right into that protect.
And that Tapu Koko just goes for a Sky Drop.
All right, and, you know, Ice Beam also into that protect, so really well placed protect by Ken, master of protect, as we all should strive to be.
All right. So this turn, it comes down to a speed tie between those 2 Tapu Kokos. Who comes if Ken's Tapu Koko actually wins the speed tie? It's unfortunate because he's still in the sky, so he's kind of hoping to lose the speed tie this turn.
All right, Sky Drop going to release that Tapu Koko for some damage, but not very much. As Ice Beam going to go off into that Snorlax. Is it going to freeze?
Just
no
not.
Freeze, and return going to hit Tapu Koko for a lot of damage. And, you know, there was nothing Corey could really do to prevent that other than hope for that freeze.
Absolutely. So it's not looking like Corey's really going to have a chance to pull this game back right now. Because unfortunately, with his Tapu Koko at such a low percentage, his Porygon 2 at such a low percentage, or at medium percentage, but I mean, its damage output was really hurt by the fact that it got burned, and then it also has only Ice Beam to really hit that Snorlax with.
Yeah, so here, it's definitely looking like a protect turn here, and, you know, Corey is going to use that protect here this time, try to draw out the Snorlax's protect, or avoid damage from Tapu Koko, but Snorlax didn't protect on this turn, so maybe Ken's got something up his sleeve, maybe another recycle. But
as he does get the freeze.
So now we have a game.
Yeah, in an instant the game becomes possible again with the freeze. That 10% chance is always something you have to consider.
We do have to worry about the round timer though. We only have 7 more minutes, And Corey's going to have to make sure he gets at least 2 KOs with his Porygon 2, or, somehow miraculously keep around his Tapu Koko for the remainder of the game.
Absolutely. It's certainly going to be close, but this game is definitely going to come down to the wire here. If that Snorlax is able to thaw out, that will just be game. But we shall see.
Thunderbolt into Snorlax, presumably. Yeah, that's going to do a lot of damage. Put it into that Ice Beam range for sure. Thunderbolt going into Tapu Koko, going to knock it out. We'll see what Corey decided to do with his Porygon 2. I would love to see a recover here, and it is indeed that recover.
All right, so that is giving that Snorlax the chance to unthaw. As we do see, it continues to just be frozen here.
Yeah, so it looks like Ken is going to have to get that Snorlax off the field. Probably just get rid of it now. There's no reason for it to stick around. But at the same time, if Corey thinks this through, he can do it as long as the Snorlax remains frozen.
Absolutely. So right now, I don't... has Ken used his Z move yet?
He has not.
So I think if he does or is able to position himself to where he can get the Z move and also do a little bit of damage, I think he can still pull this game out here.
Ken is going to withdraw Snorlax, a really risky move. We know Ice Beam is headed that way, but Ken very confident in his abilities. Sky Drop going to stop Ice Beam this turn.
All right, so now he can just go for the Protect and the Sky Drop it again, Swords Dance, and then when it drops again, Ground DMZ.
Yeah, that's true, but we have to remember that Corey also has Trick Room, so if he decides to Trick Room this turn, he could have that advantage of Ice Beaming Garchomp.
As we do see the Ice Beam just go into the Garchomp there.
Yeah, so Corey is really, really worried about the time here. He's really pushed to go on the offensive with 5 minutes remaining on the clock.
And only 2 minutes remaining in his clock as well.
That's right, so he's going to have to make some real good, fast decisions. As Skydrop, once again, picking up that Porygon 2, and it's looking pretty over.
All right, and we see the Swords Dance from that Garchomp, and I think we're probably going to see a Ground DMZ into that Porygon 2.
And, I was kind of doubting the Will-O-Wisp earlier, but, it did a lot of work here managing this Porygon 2's damage output. If it had Frustration available to it, that Tapu Koko probably would have been gone a long time ago.
Absolutely, and on top of that, slowly chipping away Porygon 2 is always nice. And we do see the Ground DMZ come out, so I'm pretty sure Ken has got this game wrapped up.
Unless he hit his own Pokemon with this move.
Oh yeah, go for the dominant
the
supply
side
play.
Tectonic Rage, but no, it's gonna be into that Porygon 2, and we know from the previous game that at +2, no matter what percentage of health Porygon 2's at, it's off the field.
All right, and that is good game. So good game to both of our opponents here, or both of our combatants here.
They've given us a great set here, running down the clock real close to time, and it was doable, but some things just led to another, and Ken was able to take that set.
Absolutely. It was very well managed by Ken there at the end, even through the freeze. But good job to both of our combatants here, and I hope to see him again.
All right, and so Ken will be moving on to the finals, playing against Justin. And Justin will actually be defending his title for reals now.
Ah.
So we'll see you then.